Provision, can we do that one in our Bhagavatam?
I have a problem to trigger the Sri Gaura Chandra, Sri Mati Radhika, and associate Sri Krishna and his devotees and to all the Vaishnavas.
Other verses, Bhagavatam, glorification verses. First verse of Bhagavatam, actually second verse. Dharma projatapatayo chaparamo nirmat vastavam vastu shivadam ayodanam. Gopataro Galitam Palam Sugamugara Mita Javasam Yutam Ivata Bhagavatam Rasam Alayam Ora Horas Vibhavakam.
All experience often desired emanated from the lips of Sri Shukadeva Goswami, therefore this fruit has become perishable for all.
Vajanta Manape Tanape Takrityam Dvaipayano Viraka Tariva Jurava Utre Chitanmaya Tayo Tarabo Panetus Samsarva Bhutaridanyam Unimanitosmi. So Sutta Goswami said, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto that great sage, Sukadeva Goswami, who can enter the hearts of all. When he went away to take up the renounced order of life, sannyas, leaving aside home without undergoing the sacred thread ceremony, his father Vyasa cried out to him, "Oh, my son!" Indeed, only the trees echoed in response to the bereaved father. Samsarinam Parinaya Purana Guyam Tam Vyasa Sunam Hayam Munina. Shaiva Hirutamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayan.
Before reciting, which is their very I often am careful to that's the author.
Invitam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Vidyantasto Yavajani Vidunoti Sahit Satam. Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Krishna Swadhamo Bhagate Dharmagyana Saha Kalo Nasta Nishamisha Puranarko Dunta. Narto Pashamam Shakshat Bhakti Yoga Madhoksaje Lokasya Janato Vidvams Chakre Satratata Santam.
Here is the living entity which is called them. The math of people who all the favorite, which is in relation to
Nidevam Karanamidamam Tamalavarnam Sahitavatanam Apara Samsara Samuj Vajamahe Bhagavata Swarupam. I bow down to that Lord, the ocean of mercy, whose color is like that of a tamal tree, and who appears in this world for the welfare of all. I worship him as the bridge for crossing the unfathomable ocean of material existence. Bhagavan has appeared as his very self. Okay. So we are on Canto 1. Verse 15. Verse 40? 41 of them, right? Because Narda's going to speak. Okay. Okay. So yesterday, Vidura is the brother of Dhritarashtra and Pandu, so he's the uncle of the Pandavas, and he's like very sagely and very but he wasn't like, and so there's a whole reason, but so he left and went to on pilgrimage. All this like in the Mahabharata was happening, fighting and everything was happening, and now he's back. He just came back, and he like totally sadhus Dhritarashtra. He's like, because he's so wise, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And so that was we read that we were hearing yesterday what Vidura was speaking to. Want to say anything about that yesterday? Hmm. Yeah.
what?
Mahajana. Mm. He's like, there's these 12 Mahajans, which are like really personalities. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He just flies. He's he's a transcendental spaceman with his Vina. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So text. You are like the captain of a ship in a great ocean, and you can direct us to our destination. Thus addressed, the godly personality, Devarshi Narada, greatest of the philosopher devotees, began to speak. Narada Uvacha, let me do this next one. Narada Uvacha, Makanchana Suchoraja, Yadishvara Vasanchagai, Lokasapala Yasime, Vahanti Bhavim Istitute. Sasamani Vakati Bhutani Saeva Nakticha.
Lamenting about
Haribo.
Yeah, Dhritarashtra.
So is
There's the uncle. He's the uncle. He's the Pandav's uncle.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Remember that guy?
Mm-hmm. 42, chapter 13, text 42. Tagavo nasi protas tantyam vadas chatamibi bhaktantyam navibir vada vahanti bhavim ishtatu. As a cow bound a long rope, also human beings are bound by different Vedic injunctions and are conditioned to obey the orders of the Supreme. "43. Itakrido Paks Karanam Sang Jaya Kriditu Syatam Tateve Sechachayanam."
Versus his playthings according to his own sweet will, so that the true will of the Lord brings men together and separates them. Can they hear us?
Yeah, I don't know.
No,
Probably not. Yeah. This is when I was once with Srila Bharti Maharaj, and there was 4 of us. I went to go see him, and 2 of us were leaving, and I went in to say goodbye, and then the other girl, and he said, "Oh, you were 4, now you're 2," and he said, "So it all depends on karma." And then a friend that was with me who was staying said, "Oh, does that mean I have better karma?" And then he said, "Oh no, you cannot say like." He said, just like leaves that are going down a river, then like one will hit a rock, stop, and the other will keep going. He said, so it all depends. But he said it all depends. He said, but then it's all depends on our service to the Lord. It just reminded me of that. Will the Lord brings men together and separates them. 644. Yan manyase juvam lokam ajuvam bhanachrovayam sarvata ste snehadam yachuho hachit. O king, in all circumstances, whether you consider the soul to be an eternal principle, or the material body to be perishable, or everything to exist in absolute truth, or everything to be an inexplicable combination of matter and spirit, feelings of separation are due only to illusory affection and nothing more. Narada is saying this.
Doesn't that go like really against
Separation from God and Krishna. I read the purport.
yeah.
We can read the purport on that one. The actual fact is that every living being is an individual part and parcel of the Supreme Being, and his constitutional position is subordinate, cooperative service, either in his conditioned material existence or in his liberated position of full knowledge and eternity. The living entity is eternally under the control of the Supreme Lord. Those who are not conversant with factual knowledge put forward many speculative propositions about the real position of the living entity. It is admitted, however, by all schools of philosophy that the living being is eternal, and that the covering body of 5 material elements is and temporary. The eternal living entity transmigrates from one material body to another by the law of karma, and material bodies are perishable by their fundamental structures. Therefore, there is nothing to be lamented in the case of the souls being transferred into another body, or the material body perishing at a certain stage. There are others also who believe in the merging of the spirit in the Supreme Spirit when it is uncovered by the material encagement. And there are others also who do not believe in the existence of spirit or soul, but believe in tangible matter. In our daily experience, we find many transformations of matter from one form to another, but we do not lament such changes. In either of the above cases, the force of divine energy is uncheckable. No one has any hand in it, and thus there is no cause of grief. Narada continues, therefore, give up your anxiety due to ignorance of the self. You are now thinking of they, who are helpless, poor creatures, will exist without you. How they, who are helpless, poor creatures, will exist without you? Next, 46. You want to do the Sanskrit? Or go with English? This gross material body made of 5 elements is already under the control of eternal time, called action, karma, and the modes of material nature, guna. How then can it, being already in the jaws of the serpent, protect others? The freedom movements of the world and political, economic, social, and cultural propaganda do no benefit to anyone due to their being controlled by superior power. A conditioned living being is under the full control of material nature, represented by eternal time and activities, under the dictation of different modes of nature. There are 3 material modes of nature, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance. Unless one is situated in the mode of goodness, one cannot see things as they are. The passionate and the ignorant cannot even see things as they are. Therefore, a person who is passionate and ignorant cannot direct his activities on the right. Only the man in the quality of goodness can help to a certain extent. Most persons are passionate and ignorant, and therefore their plans and projects can hardly do any good to others. Above the modes of nature, there is eternal time, which is called Kal, because it changes the shape of everything in the material world. Even if we are able to do some something temporarily beneficial. Time will see that the good project is frustrated in the course of time. The only thing which is possible to be done is to get rid of the eternal compared to Kal Sarpa, or the cobra snake whose bite is always lethal. No one can be saved from the bite of a cobra. The best remedy for getting out of the clutches of the cobra-like Kal, or its integrity, the modes of nature, is Bhakti Yoga, as it is recommended in the Bhagavad Gita, 1426. The highest professional project of philanthropic activities is to engage everyone in the act of preaching Bhakti Yoga all over the world, because that alone can save the people from the control of Maya, or the material nature represented by karma and guna, as described. Gita confirms this definitely. Text 47. Those who are devoid of hands are prey for those who have hands. Those devoid of legs pray for the four-legged. The weak are the subsistence of the strong. General rule holds that one living being is food for another. Therefore, O king, you should look to the Supreme Lord only, who is one without a second, manifests himself by different energies, and is both within and without. That Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, is the guise of all-devouring time, Kala Rupa, has now descended on earth to eliminate the envious from the world. The Lord has already performed his duties to help the demigods, and he is awaiting the rest. You, Pandavas, may wait as long as the Lord is here on earth. O king, your uncle, Dhritarashtra, his brother Vidura, and his wife Gandhari have gone to the southern side of the Himalayan mountains, where there are shelters of the great sages. The place is called Saprota, divided, which means divided by seven, because there the waters of the sacred Ganges divide into seven branches. This was done for the satisfaction of the seven great rishis. On the banks at Saptashrota, Dhritarashtra is now engaged in beginning Astanga Yoga by bathing 3 times daily, in the morning, noon, and evening, by performing the Agnihotra sacrifice with fire, and by drinking water. This helps one control the mind and the senses, and frees one completely from thoughts of familial affection. Oh man, what? Thanks. This mic. How about now? Okay. This helps one control the mind and the senses and frees one completely from thoughts of familial affection. This helps one control the mind and the senses and frees one completely from thoughts of familial affection. It's so cool that Narada Muni knows exactly what they're doing. Just turns up. Or can you turn off the outside speakers, please? Text 54. One who has controlled the sitting postures, the yogic asana, and the breathing process, turn the senses towards the absolute personality of Godhead, and thus become immune from the contaminations of the modes of material nature, namely mundane goodness, passion. Dhritarashtra will have to amalgamate his pure identity with intelligence, then merge into the Supreme Being with knowledge of his qualitative oneness as a living entity with the Supreme Brahman. Being free from the block sky, he will have to rise to the spiritual world.
Yeah.
On his mind.
I think it's more like a Maybe it's just like,
I mean, that's what it sounds like, but it's I thought once you merge, like, why would,
like in the
I don't think it's literal.
there's a rock and he was doesn't mean he had merged yet. And because he was there, because he had some boxing impressions throughout his life, he decided
Mhm.
to create a relationship with the Lord. But that yogic process is a modified process for to get rid of the soul. We perform bhakti with a love of this towards the Lord. This bhakti doesn't have a love of the Lord is there, just present. When you fall, that's all bhakti. The process. He did this a summary of bhakti process. So he was still able to merge his mind into his the super soul in front of him. And at that moment, beyond. So open he transcends beyond it. But it's also the authorized process that he was more
Mhm.
That's good.
like the Lord said that all paths is to me. So you would take a different path to get to the same outcome. Before when he was in the Vermont, first in Vermont, and then falling into Vermont again, I like it here. Empty, like empty and feeling all these feelings at the same time. Then he's so super soul. Oh, I can't tell that. It was like drifting towards something super soul. And at that time, when Shiva was passing through the Vermont, oh Lord Shiva, I'm just then became attracted, and then he pulled away from the super soul and went with the follower because so it's just beyond the Vermont. First outer layer of my coat. But once you get into the Vermont, you have to figure yourself out. And it's also that first step. So if you Vermont, you fall back down. I don't think that has enough body yet. It's also that first. There goes. But unbetouched with it. There's three levels of God realization. Right now, he's entering the realization. And just imagine what he crosses doing. I was with him for the past years. no idea that was thinking of Vishnu as a demigod. What meaning back then? All the guys.
656. It will have to suspend all the actions of the senses, even from the outside, and will have to be impervious to the interactions of the senses, which are influenced by the modes of material nature. After renouncing all material duties, he must become immovably established beyond all sources of hindrances on the path.
He's doing this so
Mm. O king, he will quit his body most probably on the 5th day from today, and his body will turn to ashes. I know, 5 days. I don't know. Wow. While outside, observing her husband who will burn in the fire of mystic power, along with his thatched cottage, his chaste wife will enter the fire with rapt attention. Like what Dee said yesterday about Gandhari's wife, how even knowing that her husband was not doing the right thing, still her bhakti was still fixed. The Dura, being affected with delight and grief, will then leave that place of sacred pilgrimage. Dari was an ideal chaste lady, a life companion of her husband, and therefore when she saw her husband burning in the fire of mystic yoga, along with his cottage of leaves, she despaired. She left home after losing her 100 sons, and in the forest she saw that her most beloved husband was also burning. Now she actually felt alone, and therefore entered the fire of her husband and followed her husband to death. This entering of a chaste lady into the fire is called the sati rite, and the action is considered to be the most perfect for a woman. In a later age, the sati rite became an obnoxious criminal affair because the ceremony was forced upon even an unwilling woman. In this fallen age, it is not possible for any lady to follow the sati rite as chastely as it was done by Gandhari and others in past ages. A chaste wife like Gandhari would feel the separation of her husband to be more burning than actual fire. Such a lady can observe the sati rite voluntarily, and there's no criminal force by anyone. When the rite becomes a formality only, and force was applied to follow the principle, actually it became criminal, and therefore the ceremony was to be stopped by state law. This prophecy of Narada Muni to go to his widow aunt. The Dura, being affected with light and grief, will then leave that place of sacred pilgrimage. About Dhritarashtra's qualification?
Yeah. Nor was astonished to see the marvelous work of his brother as a liberated yogi.
Mm.
But ultimately, mercy therefore, Dhritarashtra attained liberation of holiness. After many liberated from life, and one attained. Also, like in the Dharma, so now
Anyway, so yeah, he was a great state.
Last verse of chapter 13.
Yeah.
Having spoken thus, the great sage Narada, along with his Vina, ascended into outer space. Yudhisthira kept his instruction in his heart, and so was able to get rid of all lamentations. Purport. Sri Naradaji is an eternal spaceman, having been endowed with a spiritual body by the grace of the Lord. He can travel in the outer space and approach any planets by mechanical means without restriction. He can approach any planets by mechanical. Yes. Maharaj Yudhisthira was a pious king. In his previous life as a son of a maidservant, because of his association with pure devotees, he was elevated to the position of an eternal spaceman and thus had freedom of movement. One should therefore try to follow in the footsteps of Narada Muni and not make a futile effort to reach other planets by mechanical means. Maharaj Yudhisthira was a pious king, and therefore he could see Narada Muni occasionally. Anyone who desires to see Narada and follow in the footsteps of Narada Muni. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the first canto, 13th chapter Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Dhritarashtra Quits Home. Tomorrow we'll hear
Okay.
Kenneth.